All right. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the virtual Cobalt Cafe. Rick Lupert here, your MC for this evening of poetry, possibly this morning or afternoon of poetry if you're in another part of the world. It's week number 294 of our series. Tonight, in addition to our open reading, our featured reader from the great state of South Carolina is Stevie Edwards. Stevie, glad you're here with us tonight. Thanks so much for staying up late. We're going to do a few of our open readers first, five open readers, then Stevie will give her featured set, and then the rest of the open reading. If you would like to read and you haven't already done so, send me a message in the chat and I will be happy to add you to the list. As always, it's 2 poems maximum. The suggested time limit is less is more, and that's everything you need to know about that. We do have a 1 drink minimum here at the Cobalt Cafe. Make sure that you have a beverage with you of any kind to honor that long-standing tradition, as well as to keep yourself happily hydrated or whatever it is that you like to do with beverages. Finally, make sure that you have the chat room open since everyone is muted throughout the event. You should make sure that the chat room is visible so that way you can interact with each other and react to the poets who you hear and see reading. All right, that is everything I need to tell you. So before we get to our first open reader, I would like to ask if there are any questions. Chris Kondo, yes.
Have you ever been fishing in a lake, Rick?
Yes, I have. When I was a Boy Scout, 128 years ago, and we went to a Boy Scout camp in the Adirondack Mountains. We were camping by lakes and fished at those lakes, and in fact, I received the fishing merit badge at that
Oh,
point.
great.
But
Yeah.
now I wouldn't dream of fishing because I became a vegetarian and I feel bad about plucking them out of the water when they're just trying to swim around and be happy.
The poem that I'm going to read tonight is an unusual fishing poem. I don't think anything was caught, but it's one of my favorite memories that my cousin wrote about.
Good to know. Can't wait to hear it. Thank you, Chris. Looks like Jeffrey Bryant has his hand up. Do you have a question, Jeffrey?
Yes, what was in that shot glass?
Oh, this one. Good question. This is Nuda Tequila Extra Añejo.
Hmm. Is that
Uh,
your usual Tuesday night brand? That's two questions. I'm sorry. I'll save that next question for next week.
Well, I'm so excited to answer it though, so I'm gonna do it anyway. So congratulations, Jeffrey. You've earned a follow-up question just by your good standing in the community. I rotate between three tequilas. There's the two Nudas, the silver and the extra añejo, and the third one is a mezcal, actually. I forget the brand, but it's really good. And I get very excited when it's mezcal night at Cobalt for me. But extra anejo is pretty good. It's pretty good. Good question. Thank you, Jeffrey. Martin, yes.
Good evening, Rick. I think Chris almost inadvertently stole my question, but I not quite. So my question was going to be, what is your favorite lake,
Ooh. Um,
if any?
yeah, no, I'm gonna have to go with that's a tough one. It's a tie, let's say. There's Green Lake in outside of Syracuse, New York, which is a small lake that I have a lot of memories of going to as a child with camps and with family and hiking around. And then there's also in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, Lac La Belle, which is right up against the camp that I go to every year for the Jewish music conference I attend, where I met my wife. So, that obviously has some special meaning. So,
Yeah.
a tie.
There we go. Excellent.
Okay. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we get this show? Oh, Cathabella, yes, go ahead.
Rick, since you love lakes, what kind of ripples do you like to see?
Ripples. I like I hate to commit to a single type of ripple. What are the other ripples going to feel if I pick one? I mean, is that not a great concern in the ripple community? I think I like slow motion ripples, let's just say, for now. No offense to the other ripples. Thank you, Cathabella. I think Sean had a question. We can do one more question, and then we'll get to our first set of open readers. Sean.
Hey, so I'm just curious, what extra amount of aging makes an extra anejo? Is that what you said?
That's a good question that deserves an actual factual answer that I don't know the answer to. But when you bite, I do know this. When you get tequilas, there's aged tequila and extra aged tequila, añejo and extra añejo. So, speaking in a vague sense, the extra añejo is more years than the añejo.
Well, I think we both knew that already. What I'm curious about is the duration. Duration makes the
Okay, I'm
difference,
gonna
right?
have to get back to you. I'm gonna get back to you on that. Okay, that we're not.
Okay,
I'm not
thank you.
dodging the question. I'm telling you that I'm gonna find the
Evasion
answer.
is very American. It's okay.
Sure, but speaking as someone who's been to Canada, I'm telling you, I'm gonna get the answer to that back to you.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Thank you, Sean. I almost said round of applause for Sean, but I don't think it's deserved at this point. Um, all right. 5 open readers, then our featured reader, Stevie Edwards, then the rest of the open reading. Anyone who would like to be added, send me a message in the chat, like Melody Anderson Bermudes just did. Gotcha, Melody, as well as Jared Campbell. I could go on all day like this without actually getting to our open readers, but we're not going to do that. Christopher T. George, you are on deck. You'll be our second reader. Please welcome our first reader, Nancy Murphy. Hello, Nancy.
Hello. Wow, I don't think I've ever been first. Um, I am so excited to read a poem tonight because this was one of my first published poems in 2003 in the South Carolina Review. Yeah, so I was so excited to see that Stevie was here. You were not here, I don't think, in 2003. I'm going to guess. But I haven't read it in a long time, and I was just excited to share that. It's a really great journal. So this poem is called Making July. The way my mouth must move to make the word July, the ooh curl of lips, followed and push of air, followed by the open mouth roll of tongue, ends in an expression that could be mistaken for the way I look when your hands calm the outside of my skin. This all started in June, and now the low fruit ripens, falls onto ground carpeted with faded jacarandas. Alone in my bed, I feel peaches open. I hear plums softly thud on the path between our houses. Mosquitoes sing low in my ear like a persistent lover, like a warmth from my depths that won't let me sleep. Tonight I will rise, open screen doors without regard, find you on my porch with no further elaboration. Thank you. look forward to hearing you all read and Stevie. Thanks.
Thank you, Nancy. What a great connection to our featured reader. So cool that you got to open our reading with that poem, and so glad you got to read it in front of Stevie. Long live Clemson. Nancy, thank you so much for being here. A round of applause for Nancy Murphy. On deck, Jeffrey Bryant. Please welcome Christopher T. George. Hi, Christopher. Christopher, are you there? See you're unmuted, but am not hearing you. All right, Christopher, we're going to come back to you. So we're going to say, Mr. Tezozomok, you are on deck. And please welcome now Jeffrey Bryant. Hello, Jeffrey.
Hi. Like Nancy and I were talking earlier, I also am in this Holly Hardy 3030 poetry challenge. I'm going to read a couple of poems that have come out of that. One is called Secret, the prompt is Secrets. I leave things like passwords, the safe combo, my other lover's name, etc., behind your left ear when I slowly drag my tongue from your lobe to the top of your pinna. And in that moment, so nasty and moist, when my breath parts a smile onto your lips, and the house we are in right now, where I'm doing this to you, a house we won in a foreclosure auction, and you felt guilty until I showed you the view from the bedroom. The house that spins like the tops we spun on the schoolyard, like Dorothy's house in Toto 2, like liftoff is possible, like we're inside a hurricane of our confessions for which we failed to say our Hail Marys. And we're fine being untethered in this moment. And you just melt into the bed by the window with the view, feeling all carnal and carefree and looking like what you don't know won't hurt you. Second poem, the prompt is Flowers. Nureyev and all those bouquets at his feet. We stood for this miracle. Romeo danced as God intended, his body shimmering, calls to the curtain forever, and your hands busy that couldn't wait. We went to your apartment, Rudy fresh in our heads, and made love to Prokofiev, and you pulled a red tulip from my vase on your way back from the bathroom and placed it in my arms. I was your prima ballerina, your Bolshoi bottom. Aren't you glad I moved back to the city where we can't afford anything in this instant coffee paradise? We sat in Nathalia, Upper West Side, watching Kate deliver that line about calla lilies as you fed me popcorn and I licked hot butter from your long fingers. I could feel you warming to me, my lavender tastes, my sunflower humor, my daisy morning mood, the way I bloom anew when you perfume the bed. We went to dinner arm in arm as Norma Shearer and Joan Crawford and sat over scotch and Lucky Strikes, and I pulled the red rose from our table setting from its small vase, placed it between my teeth, locked eyes with your eyes, and slipped my tongue out perilously across a thorn before you could order anything other than me to eat. Thank you.
We're just going to call the reading there because that was too good, I think, to imagine happening, let alone the words. And my gosh, Jeffrey, thank you so much. We should require Jeffrey to participate in National Poetry Month writing every day for the whole year because I think we just need more and more of your work. Jeffrey, thank you so much. Well done. Round of applause for Jeffrey Bryant. On deck, Martin Parker. Please welcome Mr. Tezozomo. Hello, Tez.
Good evening and thank you all. I have two short pieces. We did have a taco event today, but I did my Taco Tuesday piece last week, so I won't do it again. I will do Welcome to the Poodle Room, where national security meets happy hour. Are you tired of clarity, burdened by the unbearable sobriety of consequence? Do you suffer from excessive accountability, chronic memory retention, and a debilitating attachment to facts? Then step inside the poodle room, where the lights are low enough to dissolve oversight and the ice cubes speak louder than the Constitution. Here, we don't ask you what you know, we ask you how fast can you forget it? Because in the modern administrative state, truth is not a condition, it's a mood. And moods, my friends, are best managed with premium spirits like the añejo and extra añejo, and a stripper on the pole, and plausible deniability. At the Poodle Room, we specialize in strategic amnesia, operational fog, executive level blackouts. You've heard of chain of command. We offer chain of consumption. 1 drink for the briefing you missed, 2 drinks for the meeting you moved, call return, and 4 drinks and the door is locked. 5 drinks and they bring in the breaching equipment. Yes, here at the Poodle Room, we understand that access is everything, especially when you deny it. Our signature experience, the Sundowner Sovereignty Package, includes a private booth where time loses jurisdiction, a curated playlist of collapsing empires, a bartender trained in the delicate art of pouring over constitutional thresholds, and a security detail that learns the ancient ritual of knocking without entry. Knock. No answer. Perfect. That's how power sounds when it sleeps. Concerned about performance? Don't be. At the Poodle Room, we redefine productivity. Why solve a case when you can outdrink it? Why follow a lead when you can follow the bottle? Be present when absence performs just as well in the right lighting. Remember, progress is a narrative, and narratives are adjustable. With enough alcohol, even failure begins to look like momentum. And if you're worried about public perception, relax. We've installed mirrors that only reflect loyalty and a sound system that drowns out dissident. You'll hear only what matters: applause, laughter, the country music you love so much, the sub-hum of a nation convincing itself everything is under control. And if something goes wrong, if the calls come in, if the crises stack, if the room begins to tilt under the weight of its own denial, simply raise your glass and repeat after us. Crime is down, order is restored, everything is fine. Again, crime is down, order is restored, everything is fine. Because repetition is the highest form of governance. At the Poodle Room, we don't just serve drinks. We serve insulation from consequences, from memory, from the unbearable friction of reality pressing against the skull. We are not a bar. We are a buffer between decision and impact, between action and awareness, between the body and the organs it no longer needs. So come in, take a seat, lose the timeline, misplace the mandate, blur the line between public duty and private collapse, because out there, they still believe in causality. In here, we deal in atmosphere, the Poodle Room, where the state unwinds, the night extends, and the next morning, it's always someone else's problem. And then I'll do a short haibun. Friday without release. The canal holds its breath like a clerk with a rubber stamp hovering over a denial. Friday and still no water. Not late, not delayed, deferred into language that pretends not to touch the body. Out here, the ground has already translated the decision. Button willow clay tightens into a refusal. Each crack a sentence that says no without needing a subject. The farmer check their watches. The board checks their minutes. The minutes check nothing. Time circulates like a memo that forgot to feel. The jackrabbit does not read agendas. It stands there in the alkali, open, ears lifted in like two antennas turned to a frequency older than policy. Its chest rises with the small arithmetic of survival. No quorum, no vote, no extension granted. The canal behind it sits like a dry rain. It has not been authorized to remember. We built a system where water has to be convinced. Forms, signatures, district alignments, allocations nested inside historical grievances, nested inside appropriations, not that speak a language of scarcity while the river waits upstream like an insult. The animal does not care for jurisdiction. It does not recognize deferral as a valid condition of thirst. Friday becomes a structure, a waiting that performs itself, a promise stretched thin across acreage, a sentence without a verb. The rabbit ships once, not nervous, not calm, just present in a way the board cannot legislate. It listens to the silence of the canal the way we used to listen to elders before we replaced them with hydrology models and liability closets. Its paws pressed into soil that remembers water the way bone remembers implac. No release. The phrase sounds until you say it near something living. No release means the root stalls in the mouth of heat. No release means the dust first lifts first and the water never arrives to argue. No release means the body improvises until it fails or escapes. The canal is a promise written in concrete and broken in paper. Somewhere a meeting ends with the clean satisfaction of adjournment. Out here, nothing adjourns. The sun does not table its motion. The clay does not wait for amended language. The rabbit does not negotiate evaporation. It stands, then lowers its head to nothing, chewing the absence like it might still yield. In that motion, the whole valley is exposed. And this is the closing haiku. We delay the water and call it order. The jackrabbit drinks silence.
Tez, thank you for both of those. I dug the line, the unbearable sobriety of consequence. And I should also mention I've been dreaming of a room full of poodles, so thank you for that image. Thanks for being here. Round of applause for Mr. Tezozomok. On deck is either Christopher T. George, if he's fixed his audio issue, or we'll skip right to our featured reader, Stevie Edwards, if he has not, which leads us now to our next open reader, Martin Parker. Hello, Martin.
Hello again, Rick. Remember my first poem here? I'm going to read one I wrote recently about one of my favorite lakes, which the name of I don't know off the top of my head. I should have looked that up, but I'm calling this poem Mystic Lake. A tree emerges out of the mist, arising from the watery depths to hover over the silent lake. Its tendrils by the spirits kissed, like angels absolving all our debts. We circle the surface, leaving a wake that fades in the haze, like all we have missed. And then when I looked up whether there are any poems with the name Mystic Lake, I didn't find anything, but it came up with this poem by a certain poet named Edgar Allan Poe. This is The Lake. In youth spring, it was my lot to haunt of the wide earth a spot to which I could not love the less. So lovely was the loneliness of a wild lake with black rock bound and the tall trees that towered around. But when the night had thrown her pall on that spot, as upon all, and the wind would pass me by in its silly melody, my infant spirit would awake to the terror of the lone lake. Yet that terror was not fright, but a tremulous delight, and a feeling undefined, springing from a darkened mind. Death was in that poisoned wave, and in its gulf a fitting grave for him who thence could solace bring to his dark imagining, whose wildering thought could even make an Eden of that dim lake. So a bit of a bistic poem there. Anyway, I'll leave my links in the chat as always in case you want to check out my multilingual artwork. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Martin. Great job tonight. I always appreciate when folks bring in other voices. And it looks like Christopher T. George has disappeared, so it's really, really rather fortuitous that you would bring a Poe poem here because he, of course, lives in the Baltimore area where, as far as I know, Edgar Allan Poe still lives. So,
and he's a bit of a Poe expert himself, I believe. Yes.
Yes. So maybe that counts as our Christopher T. George reading tonight. I don't know.
Hopefully not, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Thanks for being here. Round of applause for Martin Parker. On deck after our featured reader will be the collab with Cathabella and Siggy tonight, which leads us now to our featured reader, Stevie Edwards. Stevie, this is Stevie's first time here at Cobalt Poets. She has a new book out, came out just last month, called The Weather Inside. It's maybe your fourth or fifth book. Other titles include Quiet Armor, Sadness Workshop. That feels like a needed workshop for poets. Humanly and Good Grief. Stevie works as an assistant professor of English at Clemson University in South Carolina, right there in the middle of the state. Somewhere between, I looked on a map earlier, I'm not trying to show off knowledge here, maybe Asheville and Atlanta, or maybe Atlanta.
Yeah, it's about 2 hours from each.
Okay. See, my eyes know what they're doing when they're looking at a map, apparently. Thank you, Stevie. And is the poetry editor, as we learned earlier, of the South Carolina Review, in which our own poet Nancy Murphy had a poem which she shared with us earlier today. Thank you for that work that you do to support other poets through editing that magazine. Congratulations on your new book, and we're really excited to hear you read. Please welcome our featured reader, Stevie Edwards.
All right. Well, it's so nice to be here with you all. It is way past my bedtime, but I think I'm gonna pull through. All right. So I have some poems to share with you from The Weather Inside. I will mostly stick to reading as opposed to banter. I tend to not be the best at banter. So this is a book that was largely about two decisions I made in my 30s, which were one was not to have children, and the second was to quit drinking. Not to spoil your buzz. I know there's the tequila going around, but it was for me not a good thing. All right, so this first poem is called Father's Day, and it's the first poem in the book. Father's Day. I have streamlined gift giving with an efficiency the men in my family would applaud. A digital meat thermometer with Bluetooth for all the fathers in my life. My father, my father-in-law, my stepfather-in-law. My husband does not get one because he does not want to be a father, but we make love twice in the same day. We're good at it, making each other fuzzy with pleasure. I don't think two people could have been happier, Virginia Woolf wrote in her final suicide note. I think he's afraid he is my Leonard, or I am afraid he finds some joy in it, making coffee for a woman who spends too many mornings drowning in her own mind, missing the thrill of summer unfurling outside the window. I can't blame him for not believing I'd be good at wiping asses and noses, but lately everything mamas me. The dogs say mama when I fill their bowls, and the hydrangeas say mama when I water them. And my little niece asks whose mama I am because I am the right age and size for a mama. Toddlers clutch at my legs at zoos and breweries with fenced yards for children to run while their parents drink with friends with me. It's selfish. But sometimes I look at my love's long dark lashes, his high cheekbones, and think, oh God, I need more of him. We could make something so beautiful, but we don't. This next poem is called Ode to a Fexer, which is an antidepressant if you're not familiar. I should also mention a lot of these poems feature mental illness as a theme. So this is Ode to a Fexer. And for me, it kind of makes me feel a little foggy, like I can't feel my feelings fully, which comes up in this poem. Ode to a Fexer. Feelings buzz before me like insects I could swat out of the sky. Years ago at a bar, my neighbor said, "Your problem is that you feel things too much." He was right. I was on the wrong dose of meds, or I was off meds, I forget, but I couldn't get over so many aches. How the woman I wanted to keep waking next to stopped wanting to wake next to me, wouldn't say girlfriend, even though I had a toothbrush in her bathroom. Or maybe it was the man who followed me home from the bar the night before the semester started, when I calmed my first day teaching nerves with too much whiskey. How I kept seeing him out the corner of my eye. Now I can remember histories of feelings. I have a long record with heartbreak and fear, but I can't feel them. That deep inner slab place has a fence built around its edges. I cannot reach how it feels to miss a lover's messy hair in the morning. There are costs no one tells you about when they think you're going nuts and they want to staple you into your body before you jump out of it into traffic. The cost is heaven. The cost is hell. I pay my bills on time. Ooh. Okay, so this next one is called Alcoholism. Guess what it's about? So this is a poem that's about the last time I drank, which inspired me not to drink. This is my bougie poppy prebiotic soda. Recommend. Alcoholism. Life was a swamp I waded through. Sorry, life was a swamp I waded through, rolled around in the filth like a dog obsessed with her own stink. I was the dog nobody bothered to bathe, and I was the caretaker who couldn't be bothered to care. Below me was a swamp, and below the swamp another swamp. Swamps all the way down. I kept trying to walk out of myself, to leave my muck and melancholy for the woodland creatures to divine. The last time I drank until I didn't witness myself almost arrested or the man I was with tased and cuffed because we wouldn't leave the liquor store that refused us service because we were a half dozen shots past witnessing ourselves. The police were kind to me because I looked like a white woman sobbing in a nice dress. My partner in witching hour obliteration did not. The police report said that they tased him 3 times and that the night's victim was society. They hauled me back to my hotel where I woke musty with sweat and bile. I was a swamp thing rising from the damp, odorous earth, stringy roots and brambles clinging to my limbs, my stomach a frying pan of hot grease on the edge of catching fire. Okay. So now here's another theme in my book. This poem is called Childless. It kind of deals with the debate over whether to have children. Childless. A stranger's pregnant belly plops over elastic-waisted jeans, and a wish kicks its legs inside me. I wish it would sit still. Forest fires blaze through Quebec, orange smoke obscuring the sky of the mid-Atlantic, ushering in the new normal, tiger, burning bright, burning brush and rushing through subdivisions, making ash out of loved lives. Is delivering a child into the smoldering of the Anthropocene an act of selfishness or hope? Still, I want to feel my breasts milk heavy, like little wine bags. When I hold my friend's tender newborn, I pretend she is my own, journey out of her nursery into the secret life where I am a mother, where the little spittle on my shoulder is my daughter's spittle, and therefore made lovely. Her tiny fists yank my loose hair and pull me back into the room, where I coo and cuddle her as her big eyes search my face, saying nothing of the coming dark. So this next poem, I have lived in South Carolina for a while, but I am a Midwestern transplant. I'm from Michigan. So this poem's a little bit about dealing with that cultural change. One of the first things I noticed was that people called me ma'am, and I was not used to being a ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I became a ma'am for the first time in Charleston and started wearing more sunscreen. A cashier at a fast casual restaurant, a polite young man, hurtled it across the counter with my breakfast sandwich. Would you like something to drink with that, ma'am? I was 28 and too northern to understand it meant respect, not to point out that I had taken poor care of myself. Too little water, too much coffee and cocktails, no gym membership, a lonely pink bicycle that scarcely saw the sun. Years later, I wear my ma'am card like a badge while teaching. I've tried to grow into it, a size 12 shift dress and sensible shoes with arch support. There is something freeing in not having to walk around in my girlhood, in retiring from an idea of beauty that always fit uncomfortably. To be a girl means to be uniquely capturable, uniquely seen by the eyes of men my father's age. But doesn't a man need help with carrying her groceries and have nice cursive handwriting and something nice to say? Me, I want to transform into the meanest witch, to be all warts and cackle as I traverse the sky on a vintage Hoover, as cruel and magical as I've earned the right to be by staying alive. Right. I'm trying to keep this within the time. This next one is called Manifesto of a Dormant Pansexual, which I identify as because I'm married to a man, and it's monogamous, so I don't really sleep around with other people, but I am attracted to all sorts of people. So anyways, this is Manifesto of a Dormant Pansexual. My sexuality used to be a Lisa Frank folder with a unicorn on it. Now it's more of a KitchenAid stand mixer, but I've got rainbows on my underpants for nobody to see. My sexuality used to be a wild, ravenous thing. Now it's on a low-carb diet and tries to get out and walk for 10,000 steps a day, but usually fails at it. My sexuality is married to a sexuality. Facebook thinks my sexuality is pictures of Emma Watson and Selena Gomez. And it's true, I slow down as I scroll through their glam shots, but I'm more of a whiskey and flannel fan. My sexuality misses coming out to brunch, wants to order the sweetest item on the menu, sweet grit cakes and peach compote with whipped cream. Yes, please. My sexuality keeps ordering a yogurt parfait and coffee, something sensible. My sexuality is a nice summer breeze tousling my hair. My sexuality is I only shave my pubes when a bathing suit is required. My sexuality is a one-piece bathing suit, has gotten shy with age, only wants one person to see their midsection. My sexuality is often covered up but has a rib tattoo you'll never see. My sexuality has never really liked porn. My sexuality was once a pillow princess. My sexuality is ambivalent about strap-ons but is happy to split the check for dinner. Now that's a poem I do not read in front of my students. Just a couple more here. So this is called On Getting Paragard at 37. And if you're not familiar with Paragard, it's a copper IUD that lasts for 10 years. So getting it at 37 is kind of a decision not to have children because by 47, unlikely to happen as things go. Also, it was a decision I made in December 2024 after I realized we were going to have another 4 years of Trump. Not to get too political here. And also just general fears over bodily autonomy and what was to come. On getting Paragard at 37, the tiniest metal coil winds around a plastic T inside me, releasing copper ions to make of my womb a toxic climate for sperm. You will find no home in here, gentlemen. Don't take off your scuffed shoes and sink into this sagging couch. The gynecologist says to check for 2 strings sticking out from my cervix monthly to make sure I am still protected against motherhood. She says not to worry about my husband feeling them, that the strings are soft and lie flat against my muscled walls like damp hair, which makes me picture brushing a small girl's hair before bed, spraying the detangler so it won't hurt. I am worried about the arc of the moral universe, that it's weak and bending in too many places, too many directions. I'm worried about weakness and bending and hurting. I've spent a decade trying to make of this life a refuge, a house where the guest bedroom friends can stay the night in if they've had too much to drink where the dark reaches into their bones, or they're passing by on a cross-country drive. Child I'll never have, but once named Felicity, I have a small room for you, but not a country. And I'll end it out with a love poem. I thought I'd end on a positive note. This is called Vows, and well, the title kind of tells you what kind of poem it is. Vows. I can't promise you this body won't sag and widen and prune. I can't promise you pots of gold at the end of our lives or beachside mansions. I can't even promise I won't lose my shit from time to time. Sunglasses, the TV remote, even my mind. But with your heart, I will be careful and behold it like the delicate neck of a newborn. Before you, I was reckless, Before you, I was reckless, treated love like a hot potato. I didn't want to hold on to it too long, kept tossing it away. But you're my favorite potato. I don't need any steak, not any butter or sour cream. I just need you sitting across from me each night at dinner as my skin wrinkles and grows cluttered with eyes. It's possible I've taken this metaphor too far. What I'm trying to say is that love revised me. I'm living in a story that begins and ends with you. It's beautiful. Thank you guys. It's a really special group you all have here.
Stevie, that was such a fun set of poems. I really loved everything that you read early on, from We Make Love Twice in the Same Day, We're Good at It. Was an awesome declaration. I Wear My Ma'am Like a Badge. The title, Manifest of a Dormant Pansexual, is awesome. A lot of people you'll see in the chat like the poem with the repetition of my sexuality is. I really dug the end of that, is ambivalent about strap-ons, but is happy to split the check. That for dinner, that was amazing. And the sweetness of You're My Favorite Potato. I want to like end this reading and go tell that to my wife right now. I mean, seriously, that was such a great, wonderful set of poems. Thank you so much for all of that. I really
Thank you for
enjoyed it.
having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm pasting some stuff in the chat, and I'm going to share the screen to show folks the broadside I made for the poem that you sent. There it is. People can
Oh,
download
shoot.
it.
I forgot to read Chrysalis. Could I read Chrysalis?
Sure, go for it.
That was totally on my set list and I just totally missed it. That's embarrassing. Where'd it go in my, okay. This is the poem that's for uh, the, the broadside, self-portrait as Chrysalis. For my first solo and ensemble competition, I played Chrysalis by Gustave Langanoux on the clarinet and squawked my way into a red ribbon. Here I am in my new blue dress, drinking a nice coffee, hearing that old song in my bones. Yes, a chrysalis is an overplayed image in poems, but hear me out. I've spent 20 years in a cocoon of alcohol wrapping around my youth, slime, and growth. I've spent 20 years waiting to see what happens when I grow up and learn to handle my liquor. It was a dark, dissolving place. First, I had to let go of my muscles, then my organs. I had to liquefy everything but the most vital, most life-supporting bits, digesting myself from the inside. And now I am breaking through the dead, rough skin that has protected me. Listen, I am all delicate wings these days, so fragile as I soar. So sorry about that. That was on my list.
No, that's cool. That's like you read to us twice in the same day because you're good at it.
Oh, thanks.
Stevie, thank you so much for your work. I'm going to share the screen again to show the broadside, the broadside I made for that poem that we just got to hear. People can download it now at the Cobalt Poets website. I pasted the link in the chat. I hope you'll consider tipping our featured poet or quote purchasing one of these by after you download it. You could send her something to the Venmo ID that was posted in the chat. Same thing as if you're at an in-person reading and a hat goes around and you drop some money in it for the featured reader. That's how we do it here. Venmo is the hat. Another great way to support our featured reader is to get Stevie's newest book, The Weather Inside, which she read from tonight. Cool cover, by the way, Stevie. And I posted 2 links to it, one at Amazon and one at bookshop.org, depending on how you roll with purchasing books. And finally, there's a link to Stevie's website, stevieedwardspoet.com, which has the cover image like really big and engaging when you go to the website. So Stevie, thank you again, especially for staying up late past your bedtime tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, cool. Great reading. Round of applause for our featured reader, Stevie Edwards. Next week, our featured reader will be Dujie Tahat. More about him as the week progresses. Just got his poem for his broadside. It's a cool piece. You're going to like Dujie next week. I think he was a poet who showed up on the Poem a Day series that the Academy of American Poets puts out every single day. Okay, that leads us now to the rest of tonight's open reading. Here's who I have in this order. The collab with Cathabella and Siggy, Christopher T. George, fingers crossed, Chris Kondo, Ken Scott, Sean Mahoney, Bill Gaines, Hermione, Melody Anderson Bermides, Jared Campbell, and Heidi Casa, and then me. If anyone else would like to be added, please don't hesitate to send me a message in the chat, and I will be happy to add you to the list. Just as a reminder, 2 poems maximum, less is more is the suggested time limit. On deck is Christopher T. George. Please welcome the collab, Cathabella and Siggy. Hello to both of you.
Hello. I'm going to put our poem up, I hope. Is it here? It disappeared. Wait a minute. Oh, maybe here it is. I think it's here. Nope, that's not it. Wait a minute. Oh, gosh. Here we go. All right. And sorry, let me start over. Okay, this isn't exactly it, but I think it'll get us there. Wait a minute. Sorry. Nope. Oh, Siggy, I'm sorry. I had it all ready for us. I think, sorry, Rick. Here it is. Okay. Music ripples. There is a kind of ripple, Rick. Now, these poems are spontaneous. They're written in a group of us, and Siggy and I are part of it. And we just wrote these spontaneously and put them together. We can tweak them a little bit, but really they were just written a couple of days ago, all the parts of it and put together. Siggy, Music Ripples. Is Siggy there?
I don't see anything on the screen.
Okay,
Doesn't
let
look
me
like you're
try
sharing,
again. I thought I
Cathabella.
shared it. Sorry, Siggy. It was. Does everyone see it or not? No?
You're not sharing your screen, Cathabella.
Okay, I'll try again. Sorry. Where are we? Sorry, Rick. Sometimes this happens, huh? There we go. Okay.
Ta-da!
All right. Music Ripples. Siggy. Rick is accompanying on what?
Oh, Bansuri.
A Bansuri. Siggy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, here we
Music
go.
ripples. More erotic than our bikini's bared flesh was a white wrist or glimpse of a well-tuned turned ankle for the Victorians.
So we're working with the themes flesh, flash, ripples, and shade. A glimpse of his flesh in the closet as I passed by just once, and I still remember that glow of feeling. A flash of flesh, his eyebrows raised, my blush, and a little wiggle in my favorite dance. Siggy.
Wet, foggy day. Drops collect on standing lumber, ripples down boards. Flickering creates waterfall of beauty.
Beautiful. Ripple after ripple, I learned to belly dance. That's when my body began to feel like water. Siggy.
That's a repeat. You want me to read it?
Yes.
A wet, foggy day. Drops collect on standing lumber, ripples down boards. Wood grain creates waterfall of beauty.
The underbelly of a duck in its flight, the flash of sunset it takes with him at the end of this wet day. The flash of his smile from across the room, how I fell in love with the way he shrugged his shoulders.
In the field, a shadow lurks. Coyote hunts. Big city open land. A flash scene to catch the varmint.
First sunsets. First sun hat was a gift from my artist friend, covered with flowers. You need this, she said, and I wore it ever after. In the shade of the banyan, he lured me with his bansuri. Tones of my tambura plucked his heartstrings, ripples in bamboo.
Music ripples through the park over water, flash in the pans. Women in summer frocks, flesh exposed, skirts twirling.
Thank you, Siggy. That was wonderful. I think that's the first time we did the collab, just the two of us, and really prolific. And here's prolific Rick in a musical way.
Hello, everybody. This is my small bonsai.
This is my small bonsai.
Yes, it's just a baby. I mean, it's not a professional instrument.
It's beautiful.
No, it's more fun.
All right. Thank you guys very much. You're all a collection of small bosseries, I think. And who doesn't like a little wiggle? Great job. Thank you guys so much. Round of applause for Cathabella and Siggy and Rick. On deck, Chris Kondo. Please welcome Christopher T. George. Christopher, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yay, we can.
Well, no kidding. Okay, let me try to call up my stuff. I'm a lifelong follower of Liverpool FC soccer, having been born in Liverpool. In 1998, there was a problem. 97 fans of the club died because they were let into a stand-only area of Hillsborough for a FA Cup. semi-final. 94 died on the day, and then there were 3 more that died in subsequent weeks and months. This is Adrian Henry, who was a pop poet and artist, and he wrote this. The bell tolled all afternoon. We did not send to ask for whom. It told of flowers heaped in a gold mouth, red and blue scarves heaped together at an altar. It told of eyes like TV screens, haunted by last night's images, tears dried by the April wind. As the flags at half-mast stirred overhead, the deep bell still tolled in our heads long after the light had gone. And this is an artwork that Adrian painted, Flowers for Liverpool, and a poem by me, Flowers for Adrian Henry, 1932 to 2000. The worn flagstones of Mount Street opposite the Liverpool Institute. The head's office, I remember his cabinet full of silver trophies as he turned me down as a new pupil. 30 years later, I sat on your settee at 21 Mount Street, the cabinet with a dead magpie in it, garlanded with paste jewellery, as I drank coffee with Connie and listened to your rich Liverpool accent. Adrian, pop artist, pop poet, one of the triumvirate of 60s Liverpool poets, Henry, McGough, and Patton. You stayed while Roger and Brian decamped to the smoke, but you were the first to die, debilitated after your stroke, your big body, but still, as in your poetry and your artwork, I want to paint, as you painted a football field of bouquets after the Hillsborough tragedy of '89. Flowers for Liverpool. Yes, every spring, every day is flowers for Adrian. And that's Adrian in the middle, Roger McGough on the left, and Brian Patton. Thanks, everyone.
Christopher, thank you. Glad we got the technicalities figured out so we got to hear you today. I think you were logged out when Martin Parker read an Edgar Allan Poe piece right at the moment when you would have read. So you were invoked.
No problem.
At that moment, just so you know. But glad we got to hear that. Thank you for the work. Round of applause for Christopher T. George. On deck, Ken Scott, please welcome from the future, Chris Kondo. Hello, Chris.
On the theme of lakes and inspirations of people who made a big impact on our poetic and artistic life, I will read a poem by my cousin. We used to gather, oh, by the way, Rick, my dad was born in Oconomowoc. Anyway, lakes. My family, both sides of my mother's and father's family gathered on Portage Lake every summer. And this following poem was a ritual that my favorite uncle and cousin and I had every year. I was in the middle of the boat. He was at the front with the spear, and my uncle was at the back with the motor. The Coleman lantern hung on the oar, wedged between front seat and prow. As pilot, sitting on the motor vibrating at low speed, the lantern drops its light to form a nimbus around the spearman. A fuzzy light surrounded him. seeming to penetrate him with its needles, surrounding him with something like a cloud of gas, or if you are the spearman, the lantern makes a pool of visible yellow water around you in the still, humming, unfathomable night of indiscriminate wood, water, sky, of night on the lake. Hunting gar, a mystery, different from hunting that fish with the tanks and spearmen in daylight, different first seeing that creature, one of the oldest species remaining on the earth, older than alligators and without anything that could be called a brain. That stick, 1/4 beak, beaks with rows of regular, delicate, long needle teeth, the rest a squared-off cylinder of scales and insect-like, scale-like eyes. Seeing it coming towards you, millions of years old and still swimming without thought of anything. A block of scale and nerve, geared to, controlled by, the long jaws and needle-like teeth. Different from seeing the fish from the boat at night, the stick, something from the black cloud of trees along the shoreline, its treasures becoming nerves, detaching it, moving it out into the light pool, silent, moving past your trajectory without visible effort. It is the mysterious right of standing in the boat's prow, concentrating on the murky pool, bottomless and finite, stamped out of the night, waiting with you, for you. That's my cousin's poem. That was a ritual that I was just observed from the middle seat of the boat for about 7 years. So very nostalgic for me. I have one other little poem of mine from those summers, a little tanka. Watermelon, seed spitting contest among cousins, quietly competitive. I'm always the champion. Thank you. A little bit of lake nostalgia.
Chris, thank you very much. I will think of your dad when I'm next in Economwalk, which will be in about a month, as a matter of fact. Thank you for your work tonight. Happy upcoming Golden Week to you in Japan. Enjoy those holidays and celebrations. And thank you for being here tonight. Round of applause for Chris Kondo.
Thank you.
On deck is Sean Mahoney. Please welcome Ken Scott. Hello, Ken.
Good evening, everyone. I have two pieces I'm going to do. The first one is going to be an esoteric, spiritual piece about our condition in society. Then the second one is going to be an erotic love poem. But I'm going to start with the spiritual one first. And this piece is called You Are Power. There's a good reason tyrannical brotherhoods spent countless centuries laboring in secret to perfect the mental tools for our ongoing oppression, enslavement, and exploitation. They spent thousands of years formulating the best way to hijack your subconscious mind and fill it with thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and expectations that reduce you to worthless dirt and convince you to work like a slave in order to obtain vital resources that should already be yours by default. Everything in their societies has been created to gaslight you into accepting powerlessness and unconditional mortality as non-negotiable truths. If you knew deep down inside who and what you really are, their world of lies would crumble to dust instantaneously. Understand that the universe is mental, entirely governed and shaped by the mind, whether it be the mind of the all or your mind. The universe obtains form from the mind, which collapses the wave of infinite possibilities into the reality designed by subconscious expectation. The quantum signal broadcast by your subconscious mind can literally change your reality. Reprogram your mind at the deepest levels possible, and you can change the world. Never allow anyone to convince you that you must submit yourself to their deity in order to be empowered. That is how they eviscerate your true understanding. Because you are your eternal self, the mind who existed before your physical birth and will exist after your physical departure, you are already power. You are the infinitesimal infinite, the silence of all sounds in one, the source of everything your physical body needs. You are power. You are the center, the key of your own life and death, the nothingness who is everything, the singularity of pure consciousness from everlasting to everlasting, the first cause and the last effect, the briefest eternity and the omnipresent now. You are power. Even as the body cannot live without the mind, likewise, the body cannot die without the mind. It is time to teach your subconscious mind to cease from allowing this world of lies to turn your own celestial power against you. It is time to teach your subconscious mind to reshape this entire universe into the temple of light that destroys all darkness. It is time to open the inner eye of wisdom and fully awaken to your own truth as power. You are power. And peace. Now, the second piece on the totally different note is the erotic piece, the erotic love poem. And this piece is called Your Two Nurturing Mountains of Lifelong Love. I have a thing for full-figured women, so that's just me. My sweetest lifelong lady love, the most majestic mountains are nothing compared to your two nurturing havens of satisfying bliss, and the loveliest depths of the sea pale in comparison to your warm shelter of moist embrace, your gentle fragrance more intoxicating than a field of jasmine blossoms in full bloom. I am forever yours, my beloved, as you eagerly welcome me into the sweetest wet depths of you, with the innocent, playful, doting affections of first love in springtime, my most passionate fertility goddess of consummate devotion and voluptuous joys, my soul faithfully bound to your gentlest fragrance with sumptuous ecstasies. I am forever honored to belong within the deep, undulating, satisfying valley between your two nurturing mountains of lifelong love. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Nice work tonight. It occurred to me that if you read those poems in the opposite order, you could collectively refer to them as Caligula. Just something to think about.
Okay.
As you're framing your work. Thanks for being here. Round of applause for Ken Scott. On deck, Bill Gaines. Please welcome now Sean Mahoney. Hello, Sean.
Hello. So I have two for you tonight. The first is something I wrote about a month ago, and the second one is a response to the first one, the first draft. So somebody who had critiqued it for me, but the text was so cool that it had to become a poem unto itself. She had to look. I had to look back over what I had sent her for profanity, anagrammatic wordplay, suggestive imagery, and political content. Check. Even the Lord would say the writing was, at times, too kind towards those men and women who, in the name of state and for the love of freedom, have decked too many halls. This does not change my feeling, this dread that my muscles have weakened and reshaped themselves as trendy pop-up cafes and protein bars. My muscles, my fibers of mechanical dance and autotomic sexual deviance. Where sinks your heart, with salvation or with Darwin? What secular buoys keep your nose up above water? She taught sixth grade and science for seventh and eighth. We dissected frogs and fetal pigs, and I recall crushing a skull while trying to softly open a pig cap for a look at pig brain, like a quarter teaspoon of scrambled egg. She had the look, not the look of love, or you got the look, rather the look of parental disappointment tossed together with the look of a heavenly father, tired of creating excuse after excuse over the fallibility of the species. Not likely a title Father Charles deep thought on, what with his interest focused in oozy beginnings. I sent poetry to an old Irish nun, my disgruntled feeling, my longing for inclusion, my look needles focusing lasers on shark belly and pig clout. Same soul vacuum stare. I'm chilled now. First thing she says is that one of my old mates is now in jail or a sanitarium for molesting children in Fresno, and I feel nothing. Neither of us sounded sure, and neither of us really gave a rat's ass for the perp. Such feelings, the antithesis of her calling, yet I get the feeling God got great mileage from her and grants a moderately loose tongue at 87 years of age. So is this a memory poem, a recollection consisting of memoir and canal water while frog hunting, or simply two old friends creating what can still be called the news? I fell asleep holding my phone. I fell asleep holding my phone, screen still on, that blue light somehow sneaking through the anti-blue screen protector until the battery just gave up. Music playing from Amazon, a 2026 playlist, and it landed right on Schubert Symphony Number 5, favorite third movement ever. I guess I should be grateful. At least it didn't get ruined like the Tannhauser Overture. Seriously, damn Bugs Bunny, why are you here again? Notifications stacking up like prayers, shipped, delivered, delayed. Recommended. You may also like this version. I probably will. Who doesn't like being guided by an algorithm into loving more things? I woke up, the world was still there, and there were too many sentences. It feels like a fusion feast. Bosch would love this. Angels and organs on the same plate. Everything rich, layered, kind of beautiful, and honestly, each piece, each stanza could stand on its own, but maybe, just maybe, there's a bit too much. Maybe that get my finger wet kind of street snack could be taken off the menu so the really good ingredients can actually breathe. You know which part I mean. The classroom, the dissection, the moment of being seen. The body feels real. The emotion too. That's not metaphor. That's you. Keep that. The rest, maybe just let it quiet down a little, like me falling asleep with my phone. Have you ever seen the sunlight at 6 a.m.? Why would I even ask that? Stars hiding somewhere in the corner, quiet, bored, chewing on your walls, and me fighting the last bit of precious sleep off just to keep a promise. Okay. Thanks.
Sean, thank you very much. Good work. I have an answer to your question from earlier, if I may. We
Please.
learned in the chat from Tezozomok that generally speaking, añejo tequila is aged for at least a year, and extra añejo for 3 years at least. The Nuda that I drink, the añejo is aged for 26 months and the extra añejo for 42 months.
Nice. And you seem to enjoy it.
I do.
How about the product shot for the camera?
Well, it's just an empty little jar at this point, so I don't know, but look up Nuda Tequila, and they've done a much better job at their product images than I have, I think.
I will do that, sir.
All right. Sean, thank you for being here. Round of applause for Sean Mahoney. Well done. On deck, Hermione. Please welcome now Bill Gaines. Hello, Bill.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Fantastic work so far. It's been a great evening. I have two. I'm going to read from this month. First one is called Dog Brain. The starlight is infinite. Let me start again. The starlight is finite. You mustn't dream it all away. Give some of it to your waking imagination. Drop the leash to your dog brain and watch it run faster and faster and farther away. It's okay. It's okay. It's always okay. It's going to be okay. You can let go of the future. It'll come back to you in its own time. End of that piece. Next one is called A Hot Night. A hot night full of evil forces and jazz makes chipper memories for the damned. A swoop swinging clarinet and a drunken trombone, some chatter, some clatter, some whiskey, some batter, the simmering temptation to wrap up affairs. It's all right here in a train station with a big clock counting down to the end. And when the train to hell pulls in, we'll be ready. We'll be tired. We'll agree it's time to go. And that's it for me.
Bill, thank you very much for being here. How's everything in your world?
Everything in my world is pretty okay. How about you? What's new?
Everything also is pretty okay. I would say things are pretty good right now, actually. I'm just grateful that you're here.
Oh, I'm grateful you had me.
Thank you, Bill. Round of applause for Bill Gaines. On deck, Melody Anderson Bermides. Please welcome now Hermione. Hello, Hermione. Hermione, don't forget to unmute yourself.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My first piece is The Battle. For as long as I can remember, pride has been a constant struggle, vice or virtue, accomplishment versus arrogance. They vie, yet fail to connect. The battle goes on till the end. My next piece is My Imagination. Have you ever wanted to go back in time in your mind where your imagination takes over and transports you to a place when life was simple, uncomplicated, and pure? Back to a time when the air was clean and there was no need for bottled water or organic food. Natural was a given, not a premium item with an extra charge. Or was it all in my mind? Thank you.
The answer to that question, Hermione, is yes. I desperately have wanted to go back in time, make different choices, and experience what may have been a simpler time. Though I also feel like every single time period can ask the same question and wish that it could have gone back. So there's an interesting perspective there. But thank you for your poems tonight. Grateful to hear them, and thank you for being here. Round of applause for Hermione. Left on the list, we have Melody, Jared, Heidi, and me. Let me know if I missed anyone who would like to read by sending me a message in the chat. So that means Jared is on deck. Please welcome Melody Anderson Bermudez. Hello, Melody.
Hello, how are you guys? This piece is called My Childhood Kitchen Table. And it's from one of the prompts that I got. And so thank you guys. When I think of my childhood kitchen today, it seems very small. How did we all fit in it? There were 9 of us. My father had the seat by the 2 doors. One led to the dining room and the other to the back door. He could move his seat back and stretch out. The kitchen table was round, formica, yellow. If you were lucky enough to get a chair, they were yellow too and matched the kitchen table. There was a bench on one side where 3 kids sat. The bench was against the wall. It was tight on the bench. The 3 children on the bench squirmed a lot. When my father yelled, "That's enough," everyone stopped. The 2 kids who were in trouble the most sat next to my father. My sister Joy sat to the right of him. My brother Jim sat to the left of him. My brother Jim did not get in trouble at home, but he did get in trouble at school and in the after-school activities my parents sent him to. My sister Joy, 1.5 years younger than me, spoke back to my father. He would fight with her some, but then stop. When he stopped and gave her a certain look, we knew trouble was coming. He spoke no more, but swung his right fist at her. I sat across from my father because I learned not to say a word. Looking back, he would be a lovable Greek man. My father was short, 5'7" or so, but tall to me. When I was a kid, he had wavy brown hair and brown eyes. When he smiled, he had a dimple on the right side of his mouth. I have the same dimple in the same place. When he came home with fudgicles for all of us, we were so excited. There was an ice cream man who came by with a song and a bell. We had learned never to ask because there was no extra money for that. Our father, Dad, was our own ice cream man. My mother sat on a chair by the stove and the refrigerator. She spent a lot of the meal serving food. Dad was served first. We quietly waited for him to try his food. "Ah, good, Marge," he'd say if he liked it. If he didn't, he'd complain loudly. We all sat and waited to see what Mom would do. Occasionally, Mom would pull something else out of the refrigerator. It was something, a leftover, my dad may have liked from an earlier meal. We waited for my dad to say, "Ah, good, Marge," and then we'd eat our food. There was no leaving the table when we were done eating. If I was done early, I'd feel what was stuck under the table. There was a lot of gum, but sometimes there was something new. I just felt it with my fingers, daring not to look at it and see what it could have been. After dessert, which often was Jell-O with canned fruit in it, we were all ready to go. My father sometimes was in a good mood and excused us one by one. If not, he'd say things like, "Okay, let's go around the table. Tell us all something good that happened to you today." We knew that this meant trouble. My dad would turn to his right, facing Joy, and say, "Let's start with you, Joy." Joy usually had some sarcastic remark to say to my dad, and all hell would break loose. Sometimes we didn't get beyond the first 1 or 2 kids. Since I sat across the table from my dad, I was usually safe. My father would yell to Joy, "I said to say something good. This is not a good thing." My father's face would turn red when he was angry. His voice got louder and louder. If he looked like he was going to start hitting, my mother would try to calm him down. "It's okay, George. We don't really have to hear what's good about their days, do we?" By then, all we wanted to do was to be excused from the table. Those of us assigned to do the dishes would do those. Then, if we didn't have homework, we could watch TV. In those days, there was only 1 hour of TV per day. My mother had read in the Reader's Digest that TV was bad for you. The Reader's Digest was her Bible, and she read it from back to front. Whatever was printed in the Reader's Digest had to be true, or so my mother thought. If we protested something my mother brought up from the Reader's Digest, my mother would say, "A doctor wrote it, it must be true." When I returned to the family home some years after having moved to California, I remember how small the round, yellow Formica table looked. We sat around that, I thought silently to myself. I sat in the yellow chair that I used to sit in, my chair. There was a pencil sharpener on the ledge above the seat, a part of the bench where my brother Jimmy used to sit. The pencil sharpener was still there. I sat on the yellow chair and stretched my body, something I would never have done as a kid. My father, an old man now, sat across from me. I wanted to laugh as if there was some kind of joke about all this, but I knew I couldn't. Dad was still there in his seat. Mom was in hers, about to serve tuna fish sandwiches to my dad and me. Dad was about to tell a favorite joke. I waited quietly for my mom to serve sandwiches and for my father to tell his joke. There was no one else home. My father's hair was still brown, a darker brown. He had more lines in his face. His dimple was still pronounced in the right side of his mouth. He smiled more now. My mother had brown, wavy hair. It never occurred to me that she dyed her hair, but I suppose she did. She too had more lines on her face, but she was still beautiful. My mother was an older woman, having lived with my father 60-odd years. When she was younger, she rarely opposed anything my father had to say. Now she was more outspoken. It was fun for me, one of her 5 daughters, to see her this way. I placed my fingers under the table and felt the bumps under the table. There were more bumps than I remembered. A couple moved around as I touched them. They felt new, fresh. I wondered what they were, but didn't think I'd come back later to look at them. "George, what would you like for dessert?" Mom asked, even though the tuna fish sandwiches had just been served. "Ice cream," my dad said. Ice cream was a special thing, even then. "Chocolate ice cream," my father continued. Chocolate ice cream was a favorite for all the kids. Mom served 2 scoops of chocolate ice cream with vanilla wafers, and I knew that this was a special day for all of us. Thank you.
Melody, thank you. Nice memories there in that poem filled with nostalgia. Thanks for sharing it with us.
You're welcome.
Round of applause for Melody Anderson Bermides. Thank you, Melody. On deck, Heidi Casa. Please welcome Jared Campbell. Hello, Jared.
Hello. I'm going to read one poem tonight. Let me see if I can share let's see, is that work? All right. So it has an epigraph from Michel de Montaigne's essay on the power of imagination. And it's, "Those who are fond of hawking know the tale of the falconer who fixed his gaze purposefully on a kite as it flew and bet he could bring it down by the sheer power of his sight. And he did, or so they say. If my exempla don't fit, supply your own for me. In the study I am making of our manners and motives, fabulous testimonies, provided they remain possible, can do service as well as true ones." And so my poem is called Montaigne's Tower. He never makes an argument. Instead, a cherry-picked Lucretius quote and an illuminating anecdote are offered. He considers me low-bred for craving more. That's the point. I misread not him, but life, which is anecdote, not argument. Life needs an antidote for heartache, not an answer for the head. Easy for him to say. Within his tower, his qualifiers are respected. I'm just speaking for myself, the self-avouer claims, but what do I know in a time of crisis rankles? I don't wreck the power of pithy Latin, even if it rhymes. Lucretius doesn't rhyme, of course, in Latin, though Stallings and before her Thomas Creech translated him as doing so. I reach for his ideas, but touch only satin, the words that clothe his thought. Just so, I flatten Montaigne's assaying self to M.A. Screech's English. Attraction most repellent speech, an island of togetherness. Manhattan. Montaigne recommended foreign travel. It knocks the corners off the mind, he said. The further from accustomed ways, the better. But his foreign confidants were raveled into books. He knew them by the letter. He loved them all the more for being dead. Dead friend, you promised me no systems or imperatives, only thinking together. But life is either or, and in such weather as my bark is tossed by, I need more than self-awareness. I need truth. Before you offer deference to custom, clever epistemic make weight, I'll endeavor to provide you with an anecdote as boring as it's true. The customs that I learned before admission to the New York bar are all disputed now. Community can't guide once lost. You lived that, and you've earned my trust. Tell me what to do as far as you are able, and absolve me.
Jared, thank you very much. I love the line, an anecdote as boring as it is true. I find myself thinking almost exactly that when people ask me to explain some things that I realize are just thoroughly not interesting. And I looked up the location of the castle, just wondering where it was in the world. So it's in France. That's cool. I'm gonna have to go check that place out at some point.
The entire rest of his chateau burned down in the 1800s, but the tower where he wrote his essays actually still stands. So that you see in the photo is actually where he wrote his famous essays.
So cool. Well, I hope to get there someday. I love being at places where things happened, and soaking it all in. Jared, thank you so much for being here.
Yep,
Round of
thank you.
applause for Jared Campbell. On deck is me to close out the open reading. Please welcome Heidi Casa. Hello, Heidi.
Hi, Rick. Hi, everybody. I have a couple covers tonight because it is National Poetry Month. Let's see here. What I'm gonna do. Okay. So there are two from this book called The Boxes with Zero Tolerance by Emmy Perez. 6. They are the ones who broke the law. They are the ones who endangered their own children on their trek. The United States, on the other hand, goes to extraordinary lengths to protect them while the parents go through a short detention period. Jeff Sessions. They are the ones who were told their children were taken to bathe and not returned. They are the ones whose nursing babies and toddlers were forced to wean and left in wet diapers. And their other young ones also cried for mommy, for papa, for Tia, for blank, and were told they were an orchestra without a conductor. And enough in this country elected the conductor with his fist in the air, without music, without ocean, without moon, without the very earth. He was the one, and she another, and he yet another who said they'd be taking her child the next day and proclaimed Happy Mother's Day. And then the second one is number 10. Flotus wore I really don't care, do you, on the plane and back over a week ago. Day after an executive order to pause its own abuse, thousands taken, lost. Tonight, the tender age facility posse, care, don't care, care, don't. Of course, they're pissed. We're on their border now, can't cross the lot like mosquitoes. We're lighting candles, singing because song is movement. Someday you'll know many felt powerless and still tried. Someday you'll tell stories of your lives. These boxes crave sun, a splash of rain, Gulf dunes with morning glories opening, and shore packed taut by warm waves, sea turtle hatchlings. Thank you.
Such a lovely image to end that poem on. I just have an aching to see baby sea turtles at this point. Heidi, thank you for that. Thank you for the cover as well, and for celebrating National Poetry Month. Always glad to hear what you're reading and what you're reading to us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Round of applause for Heidi. I'm going to close out the open reading with two poems. I'm going to do a cover too. This is the book The Opposites Game by Brendan Constantine. The very first Cobalt Cafe featured poet back at the original in-person spot. He has broadside number one. He's a fantastic poet and teacher, and he doesn't put out a book that often, so it feels like a pretty big deal when he does. So this is new from just a month ago, this whole book, and I've been reading it very slowly, like a poem a night, just to make it last as long as possible. Here's one of them. It's called A Controlled Substance. My brother is late again. Somehow the glass of water by his plate, the fact that we filled it without him, makes him all the later. Dad tells us to start eating, says there's nothing worse than cold fish, but suddenly no one can find a rhythm. We fumble our napkins like we've never seen them before, like it's just occurred to us we're in the wrong house. Aren't even a family, but 4 people kicked off the same bus for being vulgar. So much is worse than cold fish, I think. The flowers on the table, the bubbles in my brother's glass, the size of our knives, all terrible. There must be traffic, my mother says, and I understand it as a command. Yes, there must be. My brother deserves a good reason, not the only reason that he is deep in his bed, as if at the ocean floor where it is still the first night on earth, and whatever moves there must grow its own light. Recommend this book a lot, The Opposites Game by Brendan Constantine. This is a poem I wrote for this week's Torah portion. This week's Torah portion in Hebrew is Acharei Mo, which means after the death. The poem is called After. After the death of Tony in 2002, I got married. The wedding was the same day as his funeral. Terrible planning on everyone's part. We left a seat for him at our table. He broke several of the laws listed in this week's text before he left, but he never claimed to be Jewish, so there was nothing to forgive. He was my first friend to go in the ground. After the death of Cleopatra, my first cat, I was inconsolable. The vet tried everything and left us with only one option. The look in her eyes when he gave her the shot will never leave me. We put her in the ground under a Buddha. When we sold that house, we quietly declared our perpetual right to visit her. After the death of our teacher, the sweet singer of Israel, we all gathered in Orange County to take our turn with the shovel. It was a makeshift reunion of people who only saw each other once a year. We loved each other harder than Miriam's song. After the death of my mother, I tried to get past her decades-long inconvenience. I took care of her possessions and paperwork. I could have told her this was coming, and she never would have believed me. I sent her home to her motherland, let her rest with her parents. I love LA, but maybe that's where I should go to someday. A holy land, a family gathering. Alrighty, people, we did it. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to Stevie Edwards, who is not used to staying this late as an East Coaster, who has to be up early for work at the college where she teaches. So understandably, she had to take off, but grateful that she was here and read to us. I really dug her work. Pasting the stuff in the chat I pasted earlier. Please consider tipping her if you haven't already at her Venmo ID, which is there. You can download her broadside on the Cobalt Poets website. When you're there, click on email list and add yourself if you're not already on it. You can click on calendar to see who's coming up in the coming weeks. As I mentioned earlier, next week, Dujie Tahat will be our featured reader. Back to Stevie, you can check out her newest book, which just came out last month, The Weather Inside, all of the poems of which she read tonight were from it. So if that's not incentive to pick up a copy, I don't know what is. There's 2 links there where you can get it. And finally, her website, stevieedwardspoet.com. That's it, folks. Thanks so much for being here. Great open reading as well. Clicking on Ask All to unmute so we can all commingle before we say goodnight.
Commingle, commingle, commingle.
Commingle. Good night, good afternoon.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Good
Great
night.
reading.
Thank you.
Sweet dreams.
Thanks, Rick. Bye, everybody.
Farewell.
See you next week.
I must get ready for work tomorrow. Night, night.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Rick.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys. That was great, everybody.
Thank you, Melody.
Yeah, you're welcome. I loved it.
I loved your poem.
Everybody was great.
Yes. Bye.
Alrighty, take care, everyone.